Nom Nom delivers fresh food with whole ingredients backed by veterinarian science. Science tells us that a dog's health starts in the bowl, so improving their diet is one of the best ways to help them live a long and happy life. Nom Nom's food is full of proteins your dog loves and the vitamins and nutrients they need to thrive. All you have to do is order, pour, and serve. Ready to make the switch to fresh? Order Nom Nom today. Go to https://trynom.com/curveball and get 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's https://trynom.com/curveball. Plus, Nom Nom comes with a money-back guarantee. If your dog's tail isn't wagging within 30 days, Nom Nom will refund your first order. No fillers, no nonsense, just Nom Nom. Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by former top prosecutor. He worked in D.C. He is now an author and a criminal defense attorney, A.X Foster. A.X Foster has 35 years of experience in the field, and he's written a murder mystery, so we're going to be talking to him about his story and about the book. So, Mr. Foster, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here, and let's let it roll.
Yeah, let's let it roll. Why don't you let it roll and start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm originally from New York City. When I graduated from college, I went to Broadway and was trying to be an actor. And I actually was a professional actor for 7 years. I appeared on a lot of soap operas, TV commercials, and one stage play. But I got a little tired of the auditioning process, and I decided to go to law school to become a sports and entertainment lawyer. When I got to law school, my path took a completely unexpected turn, and I got very interested in doing criminal law. I did an internship with the local DA's office, and I actually did a jury trial while I was still a law student under a special provision they had there. And after law school, I became a prosecutor. So a totally unexpected twist, but I ended up staying in the prosecutor's office for 20 years. Then I opened up my own law firm defending people. So I've been on both sides of the aisle, 20 years as a prosecutor, 15 years as a defense attorney. And then when COVID hit, they shut the courthouse down pretty much, and I decided to write a murder mystery. I'd always wanted to write a book. And to my great surprise, it did well and got published, and it's called Gavel to Gavel, and it's basically based on my career as a prosecutor. So that gives you, in a nutshell, the last 60 years or so.
Well, talk about what made you want to switch from a prosecutor to a defense attorney?
Well, the usual track, a lot of criminal defense attorneys do a couple of years as a prosecutor to gain experience, to see what it's like on the government side. So my path is a little unusual that I stayed as a prosecutor for 20 years. And I did over 100 jury trials. I specialized in homicide cases, sexual assault cases, child abuse, and actually did a lot of animal cruelty cases. We carved out a specialty there. But after 20 years, I felt like it was time for me to move on. And as a defense attorney, you have the freedom. I have a great boss. That's me. And it was a liberating experience to have my own law firm and pick and choose what cases I wanted to do. So that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Well, let's talk about go through kind of the process how a prosecutor would put together a case so they can convey their story and the way that they want the judge and jury to see it.
Sure. Well, my book, Gavel to Gavel, it's start to finish, from first gavel to the end of the case, is kind of answering your question, because I track a murder trial from the very beginning, when a crime is committed, a murder, and then a prosecutor is assigned the case. The first stage, you have to investigate things. I've got a DNA report, I've got a blood spatter analysis, I've got all those kinds of forensic things in my book. So the reader is placed in the position of the 13th juror, and by the end of the book, each reader has to decide whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. But the stages progress. Once you prepare the case, you have to pick a jury. You may have some motions, and then you put on your witnesses. First, the prosecution puts on their witnesses, and then the judge has to approve that the case has met a certain standard of proof. And then the defense puts on their witnesses, and then the jury decides, has it been proven beyond a reasonable doubt that a person is guilty? And so we track that whole process in the book, including jury selection, which I think is kind of mysterious for most people out there. But those are the different stages. And then, of course, if you prevail and the person's found guilty, he's convicted, then you have a sentencing, and a judge decides what the appropriate sanction is for the crime that was committed.
Well, let's talk from the defense side. When you're preparing to defend your client in a murder case, talk about accuracy and kind of go through how that works.
Sure. Well, I use this analogy sometimes. I say doing a trial, it's like the prosecutor is playing chess with the white pieces, and the defense attorney is playing chess with the black pieces. It's the same game. They're each trying to win, but they're coming at it from a different perspective. From the defense side, you have to analyze the case and see what weaknesses there are in the case, if any. And should you try and work out a plea to save your client from maximum exposure in jail? Or are there issues that need to be tried in front of a jury, hoping to establish a reasonable doubt? Because if you can establish reasonable doubt in one juror, then you may end up with a hung jury at 11-1. Remember, it's up to the prosecutor to prove the case 12-0 unanimously beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a very high burden for the prosecution. So the defense's job is just to pick holes, to probe, try and find some doubt in the credibility of the witnesses or in what's missing in the case, and hope that you can save your client from going to jail.
So you also talked about how high-profile courtroom trials are fuel for writing. So kind of explain that from your perspective on both sides of the law.
Sure. Well, I mean, a criminal trial is just filled with drama. You have a hero, you often have a villain, you have a story to tell. You have to tell the story in a way that makes sense. Your jurors are like an audience, and there's some theatricality involved in a courtroom. Litigation is all about style and presentation skills. I've seen great lawyers lose because they don't present the case in a way that's, shall I even say, entertaining or commanding or grabs your attention. So, I mean, there is a performance quality to doing a trial, and you're out in the open and there's nowhere to hide. And people just seem to be fascinated with the process. There's TV stations like Court TV. They're totally devoted to covering trials. And here in America, there's no shortage. There's always some big case happening somewhere. And the jury system isn't perfect by any means, but it is the best way of getting to the truth that man has devised. So it is a lot of games at times, that's for sure. But the best lawyers sometimes can win even with a weak hand. You know, I have a saying that an idiot with four aces will beat a genius with none. And that's how it is in the courtroom sometimes.
Tell us about the biggest case that you have worked as a prosecutor and the biggest case that you've worked as a defense attorney.
Oh gosh, that's like asking me which of my children I favor the most, or which play by Shakespeare is my favorite. I could give you a grouping. I've done a lot of big cases. I've done one death penalty case where a guy killed two people, which that qualified him for the death penalty. We decided not to seek the death penalty in that case for a variety of political reasons. The guy who was charged was not from America. He was from Albania, and the Albanian embassy got involved, and it got very politically complicated, and we just decided to waive the death penalty. But that guy was convicted. He killed his girlfriend and his girlfriend's brother, who was helping her move out of the house. And it was a very dramatic case because he killed them with a tire jack, like a crowbar. It was a very messy scene, and then fled off. And we had to link him with DNA. There was a spot of blood on his T-shirt. But that case was a big one on the prosecution side. On the defense side, I've represented people who have committed allegedly homicide, first-degree rape. You have it. I had one rape case where the guy who was charged was completely innocent, and it took a lot of work to convince people that was the case. And those are very difficult cases when someone alleges they've been raped. It's very hard to disprove that sometimes, but here we were able to do that by showing film footage from an ATM machine after the supposed rape, where the young woman and the man seemed to be totally fine with each other. So that was kind of a strange happenstance. But each case that comes down the pike, you have to analyze and decide your strengths and weaknesses. If you look like you're going to get clobbered in court as a defense attorney, you often try and work out the best deal you can and mitigate the damages. For example, I had a case where a very young man, 18 years old, shot and killed another young man over a half a pound of marijuana, killed him. And I mean, terrible case. And that young man that I represented was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Sounds like a loss, but the state was asking for life in prison. So you have to redefine what a loss is in a case like that, because he'll serve 15 years at least, and he'll be out, and he'll still be a young man. But is that a win or a loss? So these things are sometimes hard to define. But those would be two cases that pop to mind right off the top from both sides.
So tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about.
Well, like I say, I'm continuing to go to court, but I'm very focused now on my writing career. My book, Gavel to Gavel, has done very well. And if any of your viewers just Google me, A.X Foster, and go to my Facebook page or my website, you'll see about my book. So I'm focused on that. And in fact, I'm writing the second book in the series. It's a series called the Seneca County Courthouse series. It's fictional, but of course it's based on my career. And I've just finished the manuscript for book 2, and I'm looking to get that published probably by the end of this year. And so I want to continue with my writing career. Unexpectedly, the book series is doing well enough that I think I'm going to shift and become a full-time writer. And who knows where it will go. Someone was talking to me about Netflix and podcasts and all this stuff, and I'm learning, but I enjoy writing the books very much, and people seem to like them. So I think that's going to be the focus for the next the next chapter of my life.
Well, congratulations on that. Close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if that was something I forgot to touch on that you would like to talk about, or just any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Well, if you're interested in a very fast-paced, interesting story, if you're a fan of Law and Order, the TV series, I invite you to check out my book or check out my website, A.X Foster. If you like legal thrillers in the vein of a John Grisham, check it out. Jump on board. I think you'll find it very interesting and educational too. I try to teach my readers about evidence, the rules of law, what it's like to really be in a courtroom or serve on a jury. And so I invite anyone out there who's interested, check out A.X Foster, Gavel to Gavel. And thank you, Curtis.
Is your website axfoster.com?
Yes, sir. axfoster.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, pick up that book. Get the second book when it comes out. Follow, rate, review, check it out. Share it to all those true crime junkies out there. If you have any guests or suggestion topics, cjackson102@cox.net is the place to send them. As always, thank you for listening. And Mr. Foster, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Congratulations on your show. It's been a pleasure.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.